Hello and welcome. This is Lights Out and away we go with the episode. With the Formula 1 podcast for fans and by fans. I'm Will, and as I look across the digital garage, as always, I'm joined by my co-driver, or shall I say my co-host Sam. Hello Sam, how are you?
Hello Will, hello listeners, for the 40th time this year. Happy 40th episode, happy 40th. I'm very good, thank you mate, not too bad. How are you? How was your weekend?
Yes, I was very good, thank you. I was seeing the in-laws. We were staying in Norfolk and we were doing some wedding prep as well. So we went to go and see our venue for the final time before we're there for our wedding next year. And we went for a lovely pub lunch on the Saturday. So had a lovely time, very relaxing. Apart from the bit when I fell over at a park run and lost my balance and picked up a few injuries, but nothing major, nothing broken. How about you? How was your weekend?
Good, thank you. Yeah, a bit less dramatic than that. Quite quiet, really. I feel like we've had quite a busy kind of month or so, and I talked to you previously on another episode about my daughter being really ill and missing the wedding and things, so it's quite nice to have a quieter weekend this weekend. We didn't really do a huge amount, just sort of stuck locally and did lots of walks and wholesome family things, which was nice.
Very good. And was one of those wholesome family things watching the final F1 race of the season?
It was. I did watch it all. I watched almost all of it. My daughter kind of interrupted the last 7-ish laps. She was pretty hungry, and
she's done the season.
Yeah, it's fair to say she'd had enough.
Yeah,
and like seemingly quite a few down the grid and in the paddock, she was ready for something else.
Yeah.
I had to go and see to that. So I missed the end, but I didn't miss anything, if you know what I mean. I missed the donuts, which I would have liked to have seen. It's quite nice to see a Formula 1 car doing donuts, but it was pretty much a foregone conclusion, so I wasn't too worried about missing the end.
Yeah, the slow-mo shots of the donuts is worth watching with him, with Max swinging his finger around. I thought that was very cool with the fireworks going off in the background. I thought that was very well done.
Nice. Do you know what? I've never actually looked into why teams don't like their... I know Formula 1 cars aren't meant to do donuts, but I remember like Leclerc was on the radio saying, "Can I go do donuts now?" And Ferrari were like, "No, we're not even giving you that, Charles. You can't even go to a donut."
Well, I wonder if it's because they've got to do some testing, haven't they? On Tuesday, as is on the day this podcast comes out. So I think they've got to have the cars, the engines not completely wrecked straight on. So perhaps they're a bit cautious. But yeah, I did see the radio message, and Charles did seem pretty deflated by not being allowed.
It's just sad. It's like a sad puppy. I'll just let him do a donut. Come on, he's had a really hard season. Just let him go and enjoy himself for like 5 seconds. But no. So I missed that. But otherwise I did watch the race. Yeah.
And now the season has come to an end. All 22 races. Mm-hmm. How do we feel? Are we sad? Are we glad it's over?
I'm glad this season's over. I am genuinely still excited for next season. I have a horrible feeling we're going to suffer something similar next year, and Red Bull Max is just going to dominate. But until that becomes a reality, it's not worth worrying about. I think the sense I got from a lot of the teams, drivers, people working for Formula 1 in general, I think they're all quite ready for a break. It's been a long old season, isn't it? And it feels like a lot of races, and they're adding even more over the next couple of years. So I'm ready for a period without Formula 1. But I guarantee you, give it 2 weeks, we'll get to sort of Christmas time, and I'll be itching to I'll be looking at all of the Twitter and YouTube about future car development and 2024 and all the rest of it. Like, I'll be into it, I guarantee you.
You're doing your research early for next season.
Yeah, I will. But no, I mean, like, I always enjoy the race generally whenever it's on. I mean, this one we'll talk about was a bit boring, but the events are always quite exciting. The grid walk was really good fun as well this week with Martin Brundle doing the last one of the year. But in general, over the last few races, I think apart from Vegas, which I was quite excited to see, I've been ready for the season to come to a close, so we can start thinking about next season and hopefully a closer battle for the championship.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to you. I think it felt like everyone's kind of done with this season. I think with all the main storylines wrapped up, I think with Vegas being a crazy timeline, crazy timings, then people coming all the way from there to coming straight into this one, I definitely got a sense that people were quite shattered and ready for the season to be over. And I don't know, maybe it just didn't feel quite like everyone was fully up for it, or it's a bit like it lacked a bit of seriousness in the event that it usually is. It's kind of a bit like, end of term, kind of like wear your own clothes kind of day. vibe really. We can do whatever we want for a day. Would not really worry about things. And maybe that meant the race was a bit dull as well because people weren't trying as hard to push as much as because they knew they were tired or it was the end or it wouldn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, well, we're going to do a season review episode or maybe even a two-parter. Who knows? We've yet to decide. But I think it's a season we'll hopefully never see again in Formula One. And I don't mean that in the bad terms, but I mean it's a memorable season for just the dominance and for the stats that are broken out. I've got, listener, you will please know I've got many a stat lined up for you and many a record to talk about. But yeah, I think it's. I was thinking about this as I was getting ready for the podcast when we started recording. Like, if I was not recording a podcast through every race this season, would I have really lost interest and would I have made the effort to go back and watch highlights and follow all the storylines across the grids as much? Probably not. I probably would have tuned out for a couple of races and not followed them. So, this podcast has made me follow the sport even closer, which is obviously a good thing. But it's just a shame. Just a shame, really, that. For the neutral, we've had a lot of carbon copy, we've had a lot of copy and paste jobs of race weekends.
Yeah, we have, and this was no different. Max Verstappen won the race by nearly 18 seconds.
Yeah,
at a canter. Yeah, we have. I agree with you. I mean, we'll take nothing away from Red Bull. I'm excited for the stats and particularly Max as well. He has had an unbelievable season. I don't think we'll see another season like it for some time. That said, hopefully as well as kind of in awe of him and what he's done this year. But take nothing away from them. But yes, I think for the good of Formula One, it's got to be more competitive next year.
Yeah.
One team winning a race. We'll talk about this in the season review, I think. But like one team winning a race in Singapore and every other race being won by Red Bull. And the majority of those, or the vast majority of those being won by Max Verstappen, is just not made for a particularly enthralling spectacle.
No.
And if they're adding more races, they're hyping up expectation, US audience, etc. Like, it's quite a lot. There's quite a lot on the line for Formula One for the next couple of years. I think, another season or two like this one, it will hurt. Like, we've talked before about viewing figures dropping and stuff. Like, they need to. There's nothing they can realistically do to solve the problem. Like, the rules are what they are, and some teams are going to nail it, some aren't. But yes, I think everybody's really hoping for something a bit more competitive next year.
Yeah, I mean, if we do get another repeat season like this year, those regulations they brought in for closer racing will have massively, massively failed because they'll have delivered one of the most one-sided. Delivered the most one-sided championship win we'll ever see, probably ever, and we've had last season was pretty dominant from a Red Bull perspective, and if the same happen again next year, so yeah, like I say, Formula One really has to get the next change in regulations spot on, otherwise, yeah, they've got it wrong. So yeah, as you said, Max won. Let's just go through it. Let's go through all the stats. So.
Hit me.
I mean, before we hit you with the stats, actually, we should just say it was a good Max win. He did fend off Charles very well, and then on the highlights I watched, he didn't appear until he crossed the line and did some donuts, which is
yes, that's about
the standard Max win this season, right?
Yeah. Red Bull a little bit slow off the line, but not very easy to overtake. I mean, Max is a pretty difficult overtake in general, anyway, as we know, but particularly in a Red Bull. In this year's Red Bull, he's very difficult to pass. Charles had a good go. I think probably pushed it a bit too far on his tyres, forced himself and lots of others into a two-stop at Abu Dhabi, which is quite unusual. It's kind of a one-stop track, really, short of safety cars. Cough, cough. So yes, that was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, Max then did what Max always does and drives off into the distance and has a lovely time.
Yeah. So let's hit you with some of these stats then.
Let's do it.
We've got 19 wins out of 22, 21 podiums. So the only time he wasn't on the podium was in Singapore. 12.
Was there any? So there was no time he was outside the points, right?
No.
All season.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, there's only one time he didn't make it onto the podium, and that was Singapore.
Yeah. Singapore, yeah. And if he's 4th, 5th in that one.
Yeah.
God.
12 pole positions, 4 sprint race wins, 575 points. which I'll come on to in a minute. 9 fastest laps, 1,003 laps led, which he's the first ever driver to have. That's broken record. But I suppose that's hard to compare because in previous years, years and years ago, they didn't do as many races or as many long lap races, so it's kind of different. But his newest, his lap led percentage is 75%, and Jim Clark is second with 71%, so he's quite clearly ahead. And then Vettel from 2011 is fourth on that list with 65%, and that was a pretty dominant year as well. So it shows you the level of dominance as well. He's had 2 Grand Slams, so he's been fastest in every session across the weekend and got the fastest lap, pole position, the win. He went on a 10-win streak. He was 290 points ahead of P2, and it's a good stat. I saw about that as well. The gap between first and second was obviously 290 points. The gap between second and 22 in the championship was 285. A different planet, right?
Yep.
Obviously, his third world championship. He was also he's the third only driver ever to complete every lap in a season. Now joining Lewis Hamilton in 2019 and Michael Schumacher in 2002. So yeah, he's not had any reliability issues at all, and he's done really well. Now, for every record he's broken in 2023, brace yourself. There's a lot here. Get ready. Highest percentage of wins in a season, most wins in a season, most points in a season, most consecutive wins, most podiums in a season, most laps led in a season, highest percentage of laps led in a season, most consecutive wins from pole, most wins from pole in a season, biggest points gap between first and second in standings, most consecutive race as championship leader, most consecutive points scored, most consecutive top 2 finishes, most hat-tricks in a season, most pit stops by the winning driver in one race, only driver to win 3 times in one country, and then obviously only 1,000 laps led as well. Your thoughts? Oh,
it's kind of brutal to listen to it. It's just
it puts up there as one of the greatest ever seasons we'll ever see in Formula 1. That will go down in history.
Yeah.
It's a combination of the car being incredible. The car is amazing, and then you've got a driver that is perfect for that car that's been designed. He was just, ruthless, and he was just, nothing could beat him, and everything went his way. Every weekend, everything went his way. He had no reliability, he had no crashes, and even when he didn't have things go completely to plan, he came out at the weekend with the best hand. I think of the points available, I think he's a crazy start. I think I don't want to butcher. I think the points available, there's a handful he didn't win.
It's 90 something, isn't it? It's like 90 something percent points. Yeah,
which is amazing. And fair play to him. He'll go down as a great in Formula 1 for this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with any of that. I mean, it is brutal listening and thinking about this with a kind of if I was driving or working for McLaren, Mercedes, or Ferrari, looking at next season, thinking, ooh. When you listen to those stats back, and you'll think, oh no, maybe not. Maybe it's not possible.
Well, Checo said this weekend that he's ready to go again next season to fight for the championship. I mean, you're not even going to lay a glove on him if this is your fight this season. I mean, how wrong we were to think there was going to be a title battle after the first couple of races when he won 2 in the first few. Like we all said it. We all thought it was going to happen, and yeah.
Some of us did not think it was going to happen. Some of us were extremely dismissive about Checo early doors this season because it happens every year. It happens like this every year. It happened the same with Lewis and Bottas. Yeah. The first few races when drivers are getting to grips with the car, they haven't quite figured out what setup works best for which driver, and then they land on the setup that favours the fastest driver. It's over from that point onwards. And it's exactly the same this year. There were a couple of races towards the beginning where they weren't quite sure how to set the car up. Checo did really well, won a couple of races, usually street circuits, of course. And then they worked the car out. And that was it. It's been over since then.
Yeah. And, the thing is, Checo now will go away over winter and try and find a way to beat Max. And I think he'll think of things of how to get more comfortable with the car or how to eliminate the mistakes. But no matter what he does, Max will have a level above him. Just in raw talent, in talent alone, he will be better than him, no matter what. And he'll go away, Checo will get himself revved up, and he'll come back. He'll do the exact Valtteri Bottas. He'll come back and say, "Yeah, I'm here to win this season. I'm going to be selfish, and then, like you say, it'll fizzle out similar to this season again. I mean, this is quite something, the way we've seen one teammate just annihilate another one at a top team. Like that is something we don't think we've ever seen before. A teammate just annihilate the other teammate to this level. Like, you know, I think back to Schumacher and Barrichello. Barrichello still did very well and still won races and still was still decent. Or Bottas and Hamilton. Hamilton and Bottas were usually always on the podium together. Bottas would get regular pole positions. I think, you know, for all the records Max is won, Checo's helped him a lot by having an absolutely abysmal season.
Yeah, he didn't have a great season, Checo. I think that's probably that's one of the narratives I reckon we should cover in a season review, because it looked really promising at the beginning. It picked up a bit towards the end, but there was a massive like wasteland of like 15 races in the middle of the year where he was nowhere.
Yeah. I think it generally was. We could probably count it. It probably would be 15 or close to 15 races. You know, you think from Miami through to Vegas probably, or Brazil?
Maybe Brazil.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Max. You've had an amazing season, and as someone that is not a Max Verstappen fan, I take my hat off to you and I say, well done. You've absolutely smashed it. Chapeau. And you know, you've made us work hard on this podcast to find ways to appreciate you and praise you. So fair play. So well done, Max. And next year, just maybe go slightly a bit easier. Let someone else win a couple of races. Let's have a contest. And talking of contest, P2 in the World Championship went to Mercedes, but it was close. It was very, very close.
It was, a couple of points
in it. What do you make of them clinching second in the Constructors?
So I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Will, and say I couldn't give a flying.
I won't figure out what the final word was going to be.
It's the first, it's the best of the losers. Who's finished the best of the losers, and like it means, Okay, so I understand. Like if you're listening and you work for Mercedes or Ferrari, there are probably bonuses attached to where you finish in the Constructors, and I should imagine Mercedes employees are a bit happier than Ferrari ones this morning because they've got juicier bonus packets this year. So good for you. Totally understand. But as an objective fan of the sport, who cares, Like drivers, I was vaguely interested in for a while because it looked like maybe Lewis might finish above Checo, and that of itself would have been quite an interesting narrative in a season where the Mercedes has been appalling and the Red Bull's been so good. That didn't come to pass, and the Constructors. Sure, it was interesting, and Sky were doing their absolute utmost during the race to make it as exciting as possible, showing us the points difference at different times. It was like they were applying, on like the last day of the season in the Premier League, where like they're fighting for the title, and it's like as it stands, Man City 1, Liverpool 2, whatever, and then swaps around depending on what the score is. They were trying to do that, but it was for second, so no one cares. So I wasn't that bothered, but like. I was interested enough in the performances of the relative drivers, for sure. I'm quite attached to Charles in general at the moment. I feel like he and Hamilton are probably our only hopes for a competitive season next year with Max. So Charles being in really good form and kind of sparkling again this weekend. Again, qualifying really well and getting pretty close to the lead at the start. I'm not sure he'd have held it, but he had a really good race. So like from a performance perspective, I was semi-interested, and it was nice to see Russell kind of come back to form as well. So that was all good. But in terms of what it actually meant for who finished around the Constructors, I couldn't tell you how much I care less. I'm assuming you did a bit more. You're a diehard Mercedes fan, so I'm expecting you to be like, P2, suck it, Ferrari.
Yeah, well, I suppose I was thinking about this earlier, like, in a season where there's been so few things to get excited about and there's few stories, this actually has been quite interesting because it has come down to the final race, and it was, it wasn't like it was a done deal from the moment the lights went out. Like it was a battle that went on throughout the race. You think how bad Mercedes' season has been, and how bad their car has been. To get second tells you that actually they're they are the second best team. They are run well enough to maximise a terrible car. And I think, Aston Martin and McLaren and Ferrari have all scored better results than them more frequently across the season, but still they've managed to sort of still stick in there and secure second. And I think they'll obviously get the bonuses and they get the more prize money, but Ferrari won't be too disappointed because they'll get more time in the wind tunnel from finishing third. So kind of like a nice consolation prize for him. I thought it was great to see Charles back to his best. I thought the fight between him and Max was brilliant at the start. Really close battle, and just showed you the supremacy of that Red Bull. But I thought that's someone that can take Max on. And Russell, I think that's a really nice way for his season to end. It's actually only his second podium of the season, which is quite.
Yeah, he's had a poor year for him, by his standards.
Yeah, and I think he was saying that after the race as well. I think he's found it a really tough one, and that's a combination of teams' mistakes, the car being terrible, mistakes he's made as well. So I think he'll hopefully go away, recharge, refresh, and then hopefully the W15 is a much better car and he can get back to his best. And then it's great for Hamilton. Shows you the brilliance of Hamilton to carry that team up the constructor standings. I mean, it's never has the constructor standings been the most exciting thing to follow in Formula One. Like, even when it's close for World Championships, no one really cares. It's kind of a thing that's kind of goes on the background. So I can see why you're not too fussed about it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I agree with you about Hamilton as well. I don't know if we'll talk about him necessarily in depth in this pod. We'll probably save that one for the season review as well, because I think he has had a really outstanding season in a really poor car. Like, he has extracted as much as possible from that car, and put a pretty good margin on George as well over the course of the year. So yeah, although he was in quite a funny mood, I think. I don't know if you clocked it, but so. In the build, how Lewis generally, he doesn't do much kind of pre-race stuff in general. He never does the interviews or anything like that. He's never on the grid for Martin to find, sadly, because I think it would be quite fun for Brundle to find him from time to time. But he never does any of that stuff. But it just, all weekend, I just got the sense he was so done with the year. Of all the drivers, I think he's the one that's just I need a holiday. Psyched to come back for next year, but very much ready to be rid of the W14, I think. And I really enjoyed his his stuff on the grid walk as well, where so they had all the celebs right at the front, some proper A-list people there, Maria Sharapova and the Hemsworth brothers and people like this, they're proper A-list people. Will.i.am was there and a few others, and all the drivers are walking to the grid and stuff, making their way through. And Martin Brundle sort of nervously trying to get a word in with some of these celebs and stuff about their experience. And Lewis walks over and literally they greet him like he's a long lost friend. And Lewis is just standing around chatting with them, having a lovely old time kind of thing. It's just kind of pure A-list Lewis Hamilton stuff, But I genuinely felt like that was his highlight of the weekend, probably just catching up with some people he really likes and being ready to get rid of the car, really.
Yeah. I mean, He had a pretty nondescript race, right? He had a bit of contact with, was it Gasly?
Yes. Yeah. That was not great from him, actually. I mean, Gasly, I'm not sure Gasly's braking in that particular situation was great.
And then he had
but Lewis, I think Lewis in race 1 of the year doesn't make contact with Gasly there.
And he had a good battle with Alonso as well, kind of outfoxed him, which I enjoyed.
He did, yeah. Alonso was up to his... I mean, I say this people didn't really care, but you can tell Alonso cared. He was up to his usual tricks and doing all kinds of random stuff to try and finish ahead. Yeah, that was quite funny to watch. And Alonso features in the predictions as well, so we'll talk a bit about him then. But
one thing we should talk about for the race for second in the constructors was actually the penalty that Perez got was actually quite a decisive thing, because it then changed the tactics of what Leclerc did. I did see him moving to one side and trying to keep a gap so then Russell couldn't benefit from it. Didn't quite work out, but what did you make of that Perez penalty that he got for his collision with Lando Norris?
I thought it was a bit harsh.
Me too.
Actually, on Checo.
It was quite minimal contact, wasn't it?
It was pretty minimal. I think he's definitely ahead at the apex as well. And let's put it this way, I've seen another Red Bull driver make that move quite a few times this year. And never has it been an issue. And even when contact has happened, it's very unusual that the driver who's ahead and has made the move is the one that gets the punishment. If you kind of, I felt like Lando had to yield that. And he didn't really. He turned in. Checo doesn't really, for my money, have anywhere else to go. It just felt really harsh, kind of looked like to me a bit of a racing incident. I'm not really sure you can apportion enough blame on Checo to warrant a penalty. And it nearly resulted in, or it did nominally result in a championship constructors change, right? It has materially affected the result. So it was a bit of a weird one for me. I didn't really understand why they gave him that time penalty. It didn't look worthy of that at all. And bear in mind, Checo's made a lot of errors this year, but I didn't think that was one.
And that's the point I was going to make. Checo's made worse errors and picked up nothing. And he's like,
Mm.
I remember, was it Singapore when he rammed into Albon? I don't recall him getting a penalty from that. Well, that one always sticks out. But yeah, I agree with you all. And that brings me on to it. I think we're going to give, I mean, it's a slim pickings, but I think we're going to give the FIA Mario Latifi this weekend because I thought that was a bit of a rubbish penalty to give. And the fact that it had such an implication on the Constructor Championship. And, yes, it benefited Mercedes, but still, the interest of the sport. And then at the end of the race, Perez got called up to the officials for his language on the radio, but it was a message that was not broadcast, and so then it seems, why are you punishing someone for ranting about something that they're not happy about when it's not even been broadcast? It just seems like you can't say what they can say. At the end of the day, it's a team radio. It's not a broadcast channel. They're talking to the team. So if he's unhappy about something, he's got to vent that. And obviously, he can't be too horrible or rude, but still, I thought that was a really bizarre one. So congratulations to the FIA for finishing the season with another Latifi.
Yeah, so I'm going to award them the Mario Latifi for the radio thing. Because, as you say, slim pickings. Like, there wasn't a huge amount in the race to pick from. No, not really. And yeah, I just thought that was just weird. I mean, never mind that, like, he's driving a car at 200 miles an hour and he's a bit pissed off about something, and he should be able to say some stuff on the radio to vent a bit. It's not like he brought the sport into disrepute or swore or did anything particularly awful. And as you say, it wasn't broadcast. It was a private radio message. If they're that bothered about it, just delete it from the transcript. It's not a big deal. Yeah, I don't quite know why they decided to pull him over the coals for that. Absolutely ridiculous. And I've heard drivers say much worse things than that on broadcastable radio. So yeah, I'm not really sure why. I don't know if they just had it in for Checo this weekend, but
maybe they thought
that did seem incredibly unfair
now because they can't do it in the next race at the start of the next season. It'll be too long. So, but yeah, I don't know. The FIA and the stewards need to go and have a look at themselves again. Not a great season for them.
No, I mean they've had lots of issues this season. I'm sure we should maybe as part of our review or season review, we do a recap of Latifi's and who's won how many, and I expect the FIA are probably clear leaders.
Yeah, I was just tossing up, and they have got a lot. So I think there'll definitely be a Latifi feature on our post-season review. So you can look forward to that. Just moving on, there's a few other people. It was an uneventful race, but there's just a few other people we should highlight. Yuki finishing 8th and leading the race. I think he was the first Japanese driver to lead a race in 15 years.
Takuma Sato was the last one.
Super Aguri, was it?
I think so, yeah.
Good knowledge.
Very good.
That AlphaTauri is getting much better, isn't it?
Yeah, it's much better, and particularly in his hands. He's bossed Daniel Ricciardo the last few races, for my money. And yeah, it was just a brilliant weekend for him, really. Qualifying 6th in that AlphaTauri is amazing, and to bring it home in 8th as well, given some of the opposition, fantastic effort. He's had a really good final few races. I think in terms of, staking a claim for potentially a Red Bull seat at some point. He should be further up the conversation now. I think as a result of the last few races, and to finish a race ahead of a Mercedes and an Aston Martin, and put let's have a look, 13 seconds on your teammate. It's not a bad effort, I think, for him. No. He had a really good weekend. I'm pleased for him because he's really struggled at points this season. I mean, the car has been utter garbage at points. But I don't think it's any coincidence that they started picking up lots of points alongside Yuki coming into some form.
Yeah, and he has had 3 different teammates as well.
Yes, that's true.
How do you feel that it was Franz Toss's last race? I know it's a man that you have great admiration for, especially for his comments for Christmas.
I do, yes. He will be sadly missed. Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a the grid walk was a bit of a throwback kind of. For me, it felt like a very me kind of grid walk in general, right? Martin was in particularly fun form for the end of the season. He got first person he found on the grid was Mika Hakkinen. I was like, what? No way. Picked up Mika Hakkinen, and then Mika Hakkinen spent the whole time talking about how healthy and how fit Martin Brundle looked and how he doesn't age. Just such a nice guy. He should be on the telly more. And then he went and talked to Franz Tost for a while, talked about his career in Formula 1 because he's retiring. That was really nice. He will be missed. He's been in the sport a long time. So, he was, Senna's engineer and worked with Vettel and other, great drivers. Just, really fantastic reputation throughout the sport. And has obviously led the AlphaTauri team in its various guises for a long time now. So, yeah, he will be sadly missed. And yeah, his comments about Christmas in particular, I'll miss.
Yeah, they were highlights, his ones for Christmas. I mean, maybe he might enjoy Christmas just because he doesn't have to work it in the factory.
Yeah, well, this is it. His family must be thrilled now. He's going to actually be around for Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the number of drivers and the range of drivers that he's brought into the sport as sort of team principal. And that obviously comes as it being sort of the Red Bull Junior team. But Vettel, Ricciardo, Sainz, Kvyat, De Vries, Lawson, Tsunoda, Albon, Hartley, Gasly, Verstappen, Liuzzi, Speed, Bordeaux, Alguersuari, Buemi, Jean-Eric Verne. Like, that's a real range of drivers. Some have done much better than others, but a lot of those have had really strong careers, and that's partly from the way he sort of brought them into the sport and managed them. So, fair play to him. Although he's only ever seen 2 victories, which is a bit of a shame, but well.
Yeah.
Well, he goes off and you can enjoy. We should cover William on Williams for the final time this season. I mean, Albon did complete the Grand Slam over Sargent, scoring 22-0 in qualifying, which is an amazing stat. And then also, I saw the breakdown of point percentage of how much they won of the team's points, and he won 96% of Williams' points. So he is a massive reason why they have finished 7th in the Constructors, and they will get all that prize money, and they've made that forward progress. I mean, it was a kind of an uneventful race for them, really, but I think it's worth just pausing there and just saying well done to Albon and to James Vowles. That's a very good first season under James Vowles. I think it's clear that they're moving in a good direction.
Agreed. Yeah, Team Vowles for the win. No, they've had a really good year. Albon's been fantastic. I mean, he's racing against a rookie. There's a limit to how much praise you can throw at him, but picking up, was it 27 points I think he's got for Williams this year? And like that makes a massive difference. I mean, I know I joked earlier about the whole constructors and who finishes second or whatever and not really caring that much, but like for Williams, the difference between 7th and 10th is like 30 million quid. So that's really significant chunk of their budget for next year. Obviously massive for the team, its employees, all the rest of it. So yeah, no, really, really pleased for Williams. Glad to see them moving in the right direction. Really hope they can maintain it next year. It's going to be stiff competition. Sounds like AlphaTauri are going to basically just use the RB19 for most of next year. Haas can't possibly be as bad as they've been this year. Same goes for Alfa Romeo with Audi coming as well. Like it's going to be competitive. Also Alpine, I'm sure at some point are going to start progressing as well. They have to. It's going to become more difficult, I think, for Williams. So, I'm really pleased they kind of got it done this year. And, fingers crossed they can carry on making progress next year. Yeah. What do you think they're going to do about Sargent? Do you think they'll keep him?
I really don't know, because I was trying to read into what James Vowles was saying on the team radio in his comments afterwards. I think what they'll be doing now is they'll be assessing his performance across the season. They'll be looking to see who else is on the market. I mean, I think one of the reasons that might keep Logan for another season is there's not many alternatives. I mean, Drogovic was being touted as a potential seat filler, but then apparently the Aston Martin female development driver, is it Jessica Hawkins? There's a rumour that I think Nico Rosberg's spread that she was quicker in the test that she did than he was. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go and promote him. So then it makes me, will they shop around? And then I just can't see them going for a rookie. So I can't see them going and get Porsche, who's just become the F2 world champion, or Vesti, who just finished second, who's a Mercedes junior driver. So then it kind of thinks, well, they've not got Mick Schumacher because he's off to go and do endurance racing. So then it makes me think like, well, the only viable person I can think that's out there probably is Liam Lawson. But then maybe Red Bull loan him. I really don't know. I think it could. I feel like he could just stick and stay in the seat just because there's a lack of alternative. What about you?
I think Red Bull would have to have rocks in their head not to agree to loan him.
But then who do they have as their backup driver? That's the.
Oh, who cares? I mean, they've got enough to pick from. Like Yuki and Ricciardo can stay. Checo's clearly staying for next year, despite our best efforts to hopefully promote another driver to give Max a run for his money in equal machinery. But that's not going to happen. So I don't see any of the current AlphaTauri or Red Bull drivers going anywhere next year. In which case, why have Liam Lawson sat on his hands? Let him put him in a car. Let him have a year's experience, and they're loaning him. It's not like they're going to lose him from the program and pop him in AlphaTauri in 2025. They'd genuinely be mad not to do it, I think, and Williams would be mad not to take him because I think he'd be brilliant.
Could an alternative be? Could James Vowles tempt Sebastian Vettel out of retirement?
Not for a Williams. No. So I've made my prediction. I think he'll come back, but not in a Williams.
Okay. Well, I just had that thought as you were speaking. I thought, maybe it's worth floating, but no. I mean, yeah, Liam Lawson did score more points than Logan Sargent, which is quite something, and he was in the sport for a handful of races.
3-4 races.
And Logan only got his point because of the stupid track limits. Yeah, not track limits.
Yes.
The underfloor in Austin.
That's right. Yeah, the plank gate.
Yeah. But then James Vowles seems like a decent guy, and he seems like he'd give them the benefit of the doubt and try. And I think he's been very understanding in being like, you're a rookie. There's not much time for a rookie to test and get up to speed. Like, he's been doing a lot of learning on the job, which is very high pressure, and then that doesn't help your confidence as well. So I think he has been really fair, and he's been given a fair crack, which I really rate James Vowles. So that's a really classy sign of a really good leader, not to just throw him under a bus. Christian Horner. Sorry, just had a bit of a cough there.
People, do you know what? I'm gonna give my sister a shout out. Actually, she's the only member of my family who listens to the podcast every week. Bear in mind, she has very little interest in Formula One. She lives in the States, but I was chatting with her. What was it, last week? I think it was last week, and I was chatting to her about the pod. She's like, "Well, it's very obvious that you and Will don't like Christian Horner very much."
Does anyone like Christian Horner?
And it just made me laugh, and you've just come out with that and reminded me.
I hope she enjoyed
so yeah,
that.
shout out to my sister in the States, enjoying the pod. I hope.
Is she a Logan Sargent fan? Is she cheering on him as a?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe as she spends more time there, she'll become more and more engrossed and engaged with US drivers, I suppose. But I don't think she's sufficiently invested to care about Logan Sargent's form week to week yet.
But then maybe she might, after seeing the heartbreaking episodes of his struggles in the latest series of Drive to Survive, because that's surely something they're going to focus on, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, given the focus on growing the American audience and having 3 races there and stuff.
Well,
yes.
Let's just take a quick pit stop, and we'll be after the break for the results of the prediction game. Ooh!
Dun dun dun!
Welcome back from the break. Hope you had a jolly old time. So now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. The results of the predictions game. I had a healthy lead going into this. I was pretty certain that I had this all sewn up, and Sam was going to be getting on the order to some Red Bull merch. But you've said a few comments that made me feel a bit nervous. So I won't delay this any further. So over to you, Sam, for the results of the prediction game for the final time this season.
The final time.
Who will we buying some Red Bull merch?
All right. So the gap was 18. You'll remember going into this weekend. Okay. So you had number 17, Daniel Ricciardo. You predicted him finishing in 10th. He finished in 11th, so you picked up 1 point.
Okay, it's a good start.
It's a solid start.
A solid start.
You had Valtteri Bottas, who you predicted to finish in 15th. He finished in 19th for 4 points.
Okay.
And then you had Daddy's favourite boy, Lance Stroll, who you predicted to finish in 11th place, and he finished in 10th place for 1 point. So
5.
you've got a total of 6,
Six.
and you have therefore won.
Hey!
Because I needed you to get at least, as you can tell, at least 19 points, and then hope I smash it.
Oh, you made me nervous for nothing.
Well, no, so we'll come to why it's interesting now, because do you remember in the last episode I talked about if I get a clean sweep of 3 zeros, there should be some kind of stipulation in place.
Have we done it? Go on.
I've not done it, but it was so close. Okay, so I had Zhou Guanyu,
Yep.
predicted 17th, finished 17th.
Okay.
I had Fernando Alonso, predicted 7th, finished 7th.
It's finally come through.
And I
for
had
you.
Charles Leclerc, predicted 4th, finished 2nd for 2 points, which is the lowest score of the entire game this year.
Wow.
But not my 3 zeros, or in obviously anywhere near enough to win the season. So chapeau to you. I will be buying some Red Bull merch. But
wow,
yeah, so close. I was watching Leclerc, and I knew I was close with the other two, so I knew I had like Zhou kind of down near 17th and Alonso near 7th. I wasn't like following it to an extent that like I knew exactly where they were and I was on for a sweep or anything, but I knew I needed Charles to finish in 4th, and it was perilously close at points during that race. And so yeah, on another day could have happened, but
wow.
Still,
Wow.
I'm pleased with that effort, but very pleased for you as well. Well done, solid performance all year round. You've run off with it.
So the final gap then, what's the
14?
Wow, that's amazing. How many? We've done this for so many races. What, at least 15, 16, 17, 18 races?
So I think we started.
Was it?
No, it was before that. I think it might have been Baku.
So Baku was the 4th race of the season.
Yeah, so we've done 17, 18.
Yeah, over 18 races and we've finished within 14 points. I mean, and congratulations for getting the lowest score of the season. That is very impressive, and that would have been an interesting one. Maybe we need to come up with a rule for next. We'll come up with a rule in time for next season of what if you get a triple, 0-0-0. What does that mean? I feel like maybe that deserves. Maybe deserves some reward. I don't know. But yeah,
so it's. I think we've established it's clearly difficult because
it's really difficult.
Two
right?
Yeah, so I think we've had that score of 2. We've had a couple of 3. I think I got a 3. You've definitely got a 3. I think as well, maybe a 4 at some point during the season. So we've gotten close a few times, but it's clearly incredibly difficult. So yeah, I think if one of us makes it happen next year, there should be some kind of special prize.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's been a great game, and it's kept us invested in drivers we wouldn't have usually followed that closely, and I feel like it's made your love, or should I say hatred, for Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin grow even stronger.
I do hate him a bit now. I mean, not just because he murders lizards, but yes, he's cost me. Do you know what? This season he's cost me a lot, but this weekend, fair play, he came through. Seventh on the grid. So yeah, wow. That was good.
And do you know what sort of Red Bull merch you're gonna go for? What are you eyeing up? Because do
you know what? I've not thought about it because
we're recording this on a Monday, and it's Cyber Monday, so you could get yourself a hot deal. or you could go to Vinted. I'm sure there's some stuff on Vinted you could get.
Yeah, I'll have a recce. I'll find something sufficient. It will probably be, I don't know, maybe a T-shirt or a hat or something like that. Something I can pop on for a pod.
At least 14.
Let you enjoy. Yeah, at least 14 quid.
The amount of points equals the pounds you have to spend now. Checking.
Oh, that's a good shout. I like that.
Imagine if it's like 60 quid. You got to go spend 60 quid on merch on.
Well, hell, I don't know what 14 quid would get me in the F1 shop based on the chat we had about Vegas and how much they charge in there. I mean, that'll probably get me a magnet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing what merch you've got, and for the first. So, are you going to wear it for the first race of next season? Is that the plan?
Yes, I think so.
Pod,
first race, first pod. Yeah, so maybe let's try and organise for us to watch the first race together or something like that. I don't know. But I'll
only 18. Is it 89 days to go until the first race?
Of course, you know that.
Counting.
No.
Let me check. We'll start in Bahrain.
Is that if you got like a countdown timer or something on your desktop?
No, but I probably should. I mean, I do have them all on my calendar, and that's very helpful. So the provisional calendar has been announced. It's not been confirmed, and I imagine it's going to change because of the triple header with Vegas.
Well, and I assume Formula One would like to build in no gaps between some of the races with the most significant geographic distances between them, just to make life really easy for everyone, that kind of thing.
So usually a Formula One season starts mid to late March.
Yep.
It starts February the 29th. The season starts.
Wow.
That is a mega calendar. 24 races. 24 races next season. We go back to where have we got new? We've got we'll go back to Imola because we didn't get to go there this year, and China is on there. Whether we'll go, I still don't know. I've not followed China's COVID policies anymore. But that's been the thing that stopped us for the last couple of years. But wow. Those poor drivers, they'll be back doing pre-season testing before we know it, which, I'm not going to complain about from a podcast fan, but I do feel a bit sorry for them.
Say poor drivers. I mean, like, they're going to be paid $25 million a year to drive a car fast and have a great time. Like, I know, I'd be more worried about all of the people working in the paddock and the pit crews and whatever that do a lot of the heavy lifting over the course of a weekend.
Well, if you're a member of Formula One crew, feel free to drop us a line, and we'd love to have you on the podcast, and love to hear what it's like to travel and work across the world. And is it fun or is it a real chore? I'm sure it's probably a bit of both. But yeah, wow. So that was a very good predictions game for 2023, and let's see where we end up next year. I mean, maybe we'll have to think of is it always going to be Red Bull merch? Is that always going to be the punishment, or we'll have to think of something else every year?
No, I think we'll think of something else next year.
Okay,
mix it up,
nice.
Do something different. Yeah,
sounds good.
Very good. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks very much for joining. Remember to subscribe and leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you enjoyed it, why don't you share the pod with a friend? Hopefully they enjoy it more than poor little puppy Charles Leclerc enjoyed being told he couldn't do donuts this weekend.
Hopefully he gets to do them on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, if I was him doing the tyre test, I'd just do it straight away.
I just spin.
Never mind.
Oh dear, I've spun out. Oh, I might as well.
I've lost it.
I might just have to do. Oh, the thing was stuck. Oh, just keep going. That'd be quite entertaining.
Yes, it would be good. The back end stepped out. Sorry, everyone. And again, and again, and again. Oh, okay, that's fine. I got it now. We're good.
It's fine.
Come on, Charles.
What
do
donuts?
it.
What donuts? You're making them up. Just completely starts gaslighting them.
Follow us on Twitter at Lights Out Lads. On Instagram, we are at the Lights Out Pod. Will, next week we're going to do at the very least do half a season review. At most, we might just do the whole season. We'll see how we get on.
Yet decide how we're going to do it. Are we going to chunk it up from like the first half of the season, or are we going to cover lots of different categories and questions? I don't know. There's as boring as bits of it were, there's still quite a lot to break down and reminisce and remind ourselves of, because there's so much stuff that happened that we've probably completely forgotten about. We'll definitely do that next time. I'm sure that'd be really good fun, a nice way to round off the season. And then we'll take a bit of a break over the Christmas period, and then we'll be back getting excited for pre-season testing and the first race, and I'm sure there's a few other specials and fun things we could do in the build up to the 2024 season. Wow.
Yeah, it's funny you say it's been quite a boring season, but like we'll talk about some of the highlights. Do you know what the first highlight that came to mind was?
Was it fun?
And it is a Max one.
What was it?
Sector 3 in Monaco.
Yes, that is probably.
We should definitely cover that. Because that was unreal.
I thought you were going to say Fernando Alonso killing a lizard, but
that can't be a highlight. A low light.
It was a highlight of the podcast when you said pray for the lizards. That really did crack me up. I'm still laughing about that today, and that's been weeks. Maybe for that episode, I'll go and find that clip and I'll just play that clip. We can listen back to that clip again.
All right,
very good. Well, thank you very much for listening. That's all from us. All the best and goodbye.
Bye bye.